Wanna feel old? Mario Kart 8 came out 11 years ago. I bought it new at the age of 17, which is definitely a sobering thought. With Mario Kart World coming out, like, today, now is a perfect time to look back at the game that has defined Mario Kart for the last decade. And what better way to do that than a ranking of all 96 of its tracks? That is an insane number, and a couple of these I had actually never played before the making of this video. Before we start, I just want to say that I am the ultimate casual Mario Karter. I always lose my temper playing this game because my siblings are bullies and think it's funny to throw red shells at someone in 5th place who just fell off the track. This ranking is based on my own enjoyment and appreciation of each track, including the music, visuals, themes, and of course the racing itself. In other words, this is all my opinion, wrong though it may be. I actually have no idea which tracks the community considers to be good or bad, so this list might have some wild takes, or it might be full of ice-cold ones. Let me know what tracks you love or hate in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe. I also want to give a huge shout out to my very first channel member, Peach. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. You really put the great in Great Fairy. If you want to join her in future shoutouts, click the join button below. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to support the channel while getting something cool for yourself, look no further than the sponsor of this video, Figgies. Figgies are a brand new and unique way to celebrate beloved franchises, delivering a truly premium product at an affordable price. They capture your favorite characters in a striking and adorable pixel art style that gives them a ton of personality. The stylish reversible background really makes them pop, whether you're displaying them on your desk or your wall. Want to mix things up? Simply flip it around and pop the Figgies back into place. Figgies takes collecting to the next level with their app, which allows you to scan your Figgies into your digital collection to show them off and earn rewards. Every Figgies has a chance of coming with a gold, silver, or bronze background, and if you're lucky enough to get one, it'll really spice up your collection. Figgies are so cool, and you can really feel the love that went into making these special when you're holding them in your hand. Figgies launches June 4th, and they're offering viewers of my channel 5% off your first order. Just enter code IVANAVIEA at checkout. I promise you don't want to miss out on these. Thank you to Figgies for sponsoring the channel, and as always, a huge heartfelt thank you to my viewers for the love and support you've given me. It means the world. But we have a lot of Mario Kart courses to cover, so let's get into it. I've split this list into 6 categories to give it some structure, and we're going to start with the bottom one, 0 out of 5 stars. Almost every racetrack in this game has at least something going for it, but these are tracks that I think are actually bad, that have nothing to offer in terms of track design, mechanics, or theme. The tracks in this category fall woefully short of the standard set by other courses, starting with... It's probably no surprise that a Mario Kart Tour track takes the bottom spot, but I actually found that I like a lot of the Tour tracks. Some of them are pretty cool, but New York Minute is not one of them. True to its name, it's a race through New York City, or at least that's the idea. In truth, this is just a series of short street segments in a bland and generic city level. Nothing about this track screams New York to me, and it has very little personality. Other tour tracks set in real locations integrate elements of the culture and include recognizable landmarks to give them a unique flair, but not this one. You start in what appears to be Times Square, and the end of the track takes you through a theater that might be Broadway, but other than that, this could be anywhere. And how is the Statue of Liberty not in the New York track? But it isn't good on its own merit either. There are much better city tracks with better visuals and music. The track layout is boring and simple to a fault, while still somehow being confusing and unreadable. This course is just a perfect example of what tour tracks do wrong, without any of the things they can do right. This game brings back a lot of retro tracks from previous Mario Karts, and several of them are great examples of innovation and modernization. Mario Circuit 3 is the opposite of that. It's literally just copy and pasted from Super Mario Kart, which is a 33-year-old game. It's flat, dull, and outdated, with nothing new or interesting to justify its inclusion. The visuals are bare bones, and it doesn't make use of any game mechanics, and though I'm sure it's a nostalgia trip for some, that doesn't really do enough to make it worth playing. There is a staggering difference between this and some of the other retro tracks that have been remixed, and it's shocking how little effort went into making this one. I just think it's sorely lacking in innovation and comes off as a bit of a lazy copy and paste job. Los Angeles Laps is already much better than New York Minute, but if you ask me, it has a lot of the same flaws. The theme is bare bones, and This could literally be any coastal city, but I think that's more the fault of Los Angeles itself than the designers of this track. It's a step up in visuals, but besides the bit where you fly through a baseball stadium, none of the little areas you drive through really strike my interest. They're all mashed together incoherently, and I personally don't find this track very fun, just in terms of layout. There was more that could have been done with this to make it interesting. At one point, you drive past that big pier with a Ferris wheel from Grand Theft Auto, and I'm like, why don't we drive on that? That actually could have been pretty cool, but what we got was less than stellar. Toad Circuit is one of those that I don't even really know what to say about it. It feels bizarrely empty, almost unfinished. It's essentially a glorified figure 8, with nothing interesting going on, except maybe the part where you fly over the bridge with other players driving beneath you. The theme is just as vanilla as can be, and that's kinda true for all the circuit tracks, but this one just doesn't have anything to set it apart in terms of visuals or track design. It's a shame because there aren't very many Toad-themed tracks, and I would have loved something that did more with a theme than a big balloon. Maybe a cute little Toad village. As it is, it's offensively standard, and other tracks do what it does much better. Yoshi Valley was perhaps the most interesting track in Mario Kart 64, and seeing it dumbed down like this is a real shame. The old one was an absolute nightmare to navigate and extremely challenging, and I for one really appreciated it, even as a kid. This version is just easy and boring, with none of its original identity intact. It still has the whole branching path thing going for it, but if you take any route besides this one, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. That was kind of true for the old one too, but the difference is that it was punishingly difficult to take the optimal route and was much more rewarding. I appreciate that they've spiced up the visuals and added a bit more Yoshi theming, but at the same time it looks a bit bland. I'm just not impressed with this remake. It feels like a downgrade and a missed opportunity to do something wild. Snowland is down here just because there are much better snow levels in this game. It's a remake of a GBA track, and it just hasn't seen much of an upgrade. It looks nice, and actually I think this point in the list represents a significant step up in quality. Like, this is much better than the tracks I've listed so far. I like the icy roads and the bit where you skate around this hole in the ice where you can pull off a risky, tight drift. But other Game Boy remakes do much more to innovate and spice things up, and in fact some of them will be near the top of this list. Snow/ice levels are also perhaps a bit overrepresented in this game, making one as basic as Snowland a bit redundant. This is another Super Nintendo track, and it's already a pretty massive step up from the likes of Mario Circuit 3. It has much more dynamic track design, and actually utilizes some of the game's unique mechanics, like when you drop off these bridges and go underwater. But I still think Donut Plains 3 is just one of the game's weaker tracks. I like the reference to Super Mario World, but otherwise the theme is just a little boring and the visuals are painfully plain. I know it's in the name, but still. The track design is simple and unchallenging, and the whole place is just underwhelming. It pains me to put a Double Jazz track in the bottom tier, but Dry Dry Desert is just mind-numbingly boring. It doesn't do anything interesting with its track design, the visuals are blindingly monochromatic, and there are much better desert tracks. I actually think this track was better in Double Dash, and hasn't fared well in the transition to Mario Kart 8. The Quicksand Pit is the only unique track element here, but it's so avoidable you have to actually try to get caught in it. The Oasis segment adds a bit of color to the level, but if you use the water jets to trick off of, it feels like it actually slows you down, which is weird and counterintuitive. I would have much preferred to see Dry Dry Ruins from Mario Kart Wii take this spot. That's a much better desert level, and would have fit better with the rest of the tracks in this game. Dry Dry Desert is quite a bit better than the other tracks in this category, but sadly it still belongs here. Alright, so that rounds off our 0-star section. I think these tracks are inarguably worse than the rest of the game has to offer, unless any of them happen to be your favorite. In that case, it was probably a clerical mistake. But now it's time to move on to the 1-star category. These are tracks that are inoffensive but unremarkable. In other words, they're boring. And for an example of this, look no further than... This was the first tour map introduced to the game, and while it isn't nearly as bad as the tour maps ranked below it, it is quite lame, as are many of these real-world tracks. It's definitely more recognizable than Los Angeles Laps and New York Minute, and I think it actually looks pretty nice. I love the music, and it even has a little reference to Mario Kart 64 in there. The flaws with this track are in the actual design of the course itself. It almost feels like you're just driving in a circle, with several empty straight sections. Now's a good time to bring up something that almost all of these tour maps do, which is the mix-up from lap to lap. On paper this is a neat idea, keeping each lap fresh and making it a bit more interesting. In practice, I find it extremely easy to lose track of where you're going, even when you're familiar with the track. Is this a skill issue? Probably, but I definitely prefer just a solid 3-lap map that doesn't have to flip itself on its head to be interesting. Tokyo Blur isn't necessarily a bad track, it just isn't good. Honestly, everything I just said goes for this one too, with just a bit more personality and better track design. It has some recognizable London landmarks, like the Big Ben and that Ferris wheel from the Sherlock opening, but overall I find it visually unappealing, and I can't stand the music. It's inoffensive, unremarkable, and a shoo-in for the boring category. Sunset Wild is a great example of how retro tracks can end up looking really nice, and it's a bit of an indictment on the likes of Mario Circuit 3 and Snowland. This is a very pretty level. I love the mountainous background with the setting sun peeking through. It is a bit monochrome, but I think it works here in a way Dry Dry Desert doesn't, and gives the level a nice atmosphere. All this being said, the track itself is nothing to write home about. It's pretty plain, but it does have some elements that elevate it above the other retro tracks that I've covered, like the blast off through this muddy section, and the jump near the end. Certainly not one of the best tracks in the game, or even one of the better retro tracks, but it's serviceable. I do not like this level at all. The only reason I put it this high is because it does have an anti-grav section, but even that section is just this weird little U-turn that adds nothing of interest to the track. The theme is just boring racetrack circuit that, like I said, is done much better by other levels, and the visuals are bog standard. I feel like I'm being more vitriolic about this track than I have all the ones ranked below it. It's just one of those where I can't really say it's worse than the others so far, but I just don't like it. I'd actually rather play most of the ones below it. You know what? I don't know why I'm trying to be objective here. This is my list, and people are going to say I'm doing it wrong anyway. Mario Circuit GBA, you're banished to the lowest tier. I'm going to put it at 89 and bump up Dry Dry Desert. If you're mad about it, you can write to your local senator. Oh wait, you don't have a senator because my channel isn't a democracy. To the gallows with you. This is another city tour map, but I think it's a lot better. It's more interesting than Tokyo Blur and more cohesive than Los Angeles Laps. A lot of the little areas are pretty cool, like the museum, the plaza with some kind of Wiggler show going on, and I particularly love the soccer stadium with Goombas and big shoes. But Madrid Drive still suffers from a lot of the flaws in these tour maps. The streets are a bit claustrophobic, the track design is complicated and jerky in a way I don't personally find that fun to play, and sometimes it's hard to read where you're supposed to go. That being said, I prefer this kind of track much more than a basic loop like Toad Circuit, but it still isn't one that I'm going to play very often. Toad's Turnpike is a classic 64 track, and I really think it's been downgraded quite a bit. On the 64 it felt like a packed interstate, and it was all but impossible to avoid the traffic. It was intense and difficult in a great way, but here it's easy, open, and extremely basic. In a game with other highway-esque courses, it just doesn't stand out. I think Shroom Ridge and Moonview Highway both do the idea better. That being said, I don't hate Toad's Turnpike. The wall riding is fun, though it's usually faster to just take a tight inside drift. Ramping onto cars is cool, I guess, but overall, Toad's Turnpike is just a bit empty. Time for the third Mario circuit on this list, this one from Mario Kart DS, and it's quite a bit better than the other circuit tracks I've covered so far. The layout is much more engaging, and I actually really like the visuals, especially in comparison to the other circuits. I like the bit where you go through a pipe and end up in this forest, then loop around to drive by Peach's castle. It's a nice little track, but it isn't much more than that, and I don't think it does anything particularly well enough to elevate it above the boring tier. Okay, like I said, I don't know much about anything the community says about these tracks, but even so, I have a feeling people may be mad about this one. Moo Moo Meadows is a bit of a classic, but I just don't really like it. I actually think the theme is pretty boring, and the visuals are nothing special. I love the music, but otherwise this track doesn't do anything for me in terms of aesthetic. The track itself is okay, with the standout being the flight section across these hills. There's nothing really wrong with this track, it's just, at the risk of being reductive, a bit boring. 2 Wii tracks back to back and in the 1-star category. What am I doing with my life? There are just multiple better mountain tracks and Donkey Kong tracks, making Summit feel a little bit obsolete. There are some fun jumps, there's some really nice twisty turns around bottomless pits, and I like the half-pipe section at the end, but this track just feels like a downgrade from DK Mountain, which will be much higher on this list. The theme is fine, it's like a ski slope which gives it something of a unique spin, and it has Shy Guys skiing about, and Shy Guys are always a plus. Ultimately, I just think it's a bit outshined by tracks with similar premises. I really don't like food-themed levels in general. It doesn't do anything for me, and it's nonsensical in a way I don't enjoy. Sweet Sweet Canyon is no exception, and despite being themed entirely around dessert, it somehow manages to have a really unappetizing color palette. Just not my vibe. The track itself is decent, it has some good drifting opportunities, and there's a neat anti-grav section with 2 different paths to take, but overall I find this track to be a bit of a snooze fest. This is a weird one. On its face, it's a plain loop going around in a circle for 3 laps. But true to its Excitebike theme, it's absolutely stuffed with jumps. It ends up being pretty intense and exciting, and the jumps are even randomized so it will be different every time you play it. Even so, I don't think the jumps do enough to make this an interesting track. I think having some more turns or anti-grav to mix things up would really help. I get that it's an homage to Excitebike, but I don't think that justifies the simplicity of this track, and I honestly find it a bit boring. Daisy Circuit may be the nicest looking level we've covered so far. I love the theme, and I actually think it fits Daisy pretty well. There's a nice little Easter egg where you can see Daisy's cruiser on the horizon, and that's a cool detail. The statues of Daisy and Luigi are adorable, and the sunset lighting gives it a lovely atmosphere. If I love this track so much, why don't I marry it? I mean, why is it so low? Well, I just don't think it's all that engaging as a track. It's another city/town track, and while it certainly pulls this premise off better than others, it's still a little bit redundant. It doesn't have any interesting mechanics, except maybe for the sidewalk you can ride to avoid items. The layout is just painfully simple, and while I love this track for the vibes alone, I can't justify putting it any higher. Rounding out this category, we have Wario Stadium. It's a step up from previous tracks, but I still think it belongs in the boring category. Yes, it has a lot of jumps and wild track design, but it's all squished together and kind of repetitive. It's just constant jumps back to back with very little breaks in between, similar to Excitebike Arena. It's tight and compact in a bad way, if you ask me, almost claustrophobic. The dirt track theme definitely has a place in this game, but it's done so much better by Waluigi Stadium, and honestly I think that track just does everything this one does better. I would totally understand if this one ranks higher for you, it just doesn't work for me. Alright, our next category is 2-star tracks, and while that sounds like a really low rating, I find all the tracks in this tier to be totally fine. Not much wrong with them, they just don't reach the heights of the tracks ranked above it. But they're still a good time with plenty to appreciate about them, so let's get started with... Bangkok Rush is pretty neat as far as tour maps go. It's still a little bit cluttered and confusing to navigate sometimes, but I think it has a lot going for it. I like the little boat section at the start, the marketplace is cool and thematic, and there's a ton of different ways to navigate this track. Some of them are really bad, but overall it makes the track really dynamic and interesting, and you can take a different route pretty much every time you play. It's certainly not perfect or even the best tour track, but I like it. Peach Gardens has a lovely theme and charming visuals. The track layout is pretty interesting and varied, and I like the hedge bush statues of Mario characters. This feels like something that would actually be in Peach's backyard. It's very regal and beautiful. It's nothing mind-blowing, and the third lap mixes things up in an unnecessary way that's just worse than the previous 2 laps, but I always enjoy my time in this cute little garden. Water Park is a basic but still fun course that combines underwater sections with anti-grav to achieve a pretty cool effect. The theme is fine and the visuals are a bit plain, but I don't mind that. I don't really have much to say about this one, except that it makes good use of Mario Kart 8's mechanics, and it's perfect as an early track in the game. This is the first track in the game, and as such, it's unsurprisingly a bit plain. It does a great job of introducing the anti-grav and the flight, and it has some cool opportunities for shortcuts. This one is fun for time trials. The theme is obviously just a basic racetrack, but it has great visuals, and I like how brightly lit it is under the night sky, and the cheering spectators in the stands. It has great energy, and while it certainly isn't one of the better levels in the game, I like it quite a bit. It pains me to play such a classic and nostalgic track so low, but remember, all the entries in this section are totally fine. I just don't think this one does quite enough to elevate itself above the others here. It's a faithful reproduction of the 64 track, while doing enough to mix it up and modernize it. I like how it integrates the train track into the course itself, and I think it's pretty fun. It preserves the atmosphere of the original track, and I'm really glad it's here. Another 64 track, and it too has been reimagined in a great way. I like how it expands the theme with this cave and the rickety broken bridge that follows. I love the music and the visuals, with the fossils in the walls and the falling boulders, and they even kept the weird fog effect from the original. My only complaint is that the original was a very dangerous track, like you could fall off in certain areas and just be screwed. That's been toned down quite a bit with guardrails and respawns, and I can understand that, but it does kind of rob this track of its identity, at least in my opinion. I had to play this track twice because the first time I was so distracted by grooving to the music that I forgot to pay attention to the track itself. It's a beautiful level. I love the bright sunshiny meadows, and it feels like a nice drive through the countryside. The vehicles provide a fun obstacle to navigate around, especially on the tight turns. I do feel this course is let down a bit by the standard track design, like nothing really stands out in terms of gameplay, and there are better highway style levels in the game. But it's good, and worth playing if just for the music alone. Amsterdam Drift may be the best looking tour map in the game. I don't know anything about this place in the real world, but if it's this pretty, I want to visit. It's so bright and colorful, with lots of cool segments. There's this bit at the end where you jump out of a tunnel into a field of flowers, and it's just so pretty. It's a really nice moment and took me by surprise the first time I saw it. Nothing about this track really feels Netherlandsy, but again, I wouldn't know. The track design is nothing special, but it's also not bad. The only bit I don't like is driving through the canals. It's kind of neat to be driving under the rest of the course, but it looks so bland compared to everything else. I think we're getting to the point where tour maps really start to hold their own in comparison to the traditional courses, and Amsterdam Drift is the perfect example of that. Okay, I do kind of feel like a lot of people will disagree with me on this one, and I can't deny it's a pretty subjective placement. The theme and visuals are top-notch, the whole course is a dragon, and it's very dazzling and unique. I've criticized other tracks for not having much going on, and at the risk of sounding inconsistent, my issue with Dragon Driftway is that it's got too much going on. It's very busy and chaotic, and if you get stuck in the middle of the pack on this one, you're just doomed. Skill issue, I know. Dragon Driftway is also the only track that makes me nauseated, like the combination of the anti-grav and the twisting, winding turns makes me very motion sick. I'm sure some people love this track for the same reasons I don't, but I have to be honest and say I don't enjoy it. Vancouver Velocity is by far the best tour map so far, if you ask me. First of all, this music is unjustifiably good. But Vancouver Velocity does a lot to elevate itself above the other city courses. It looks incredible, from the frosty forest to the brightly lit and colorful city. It has a really cool anti-grav section, and the whole track incorporates a healthy mix of speed and tight turns. It's also quite long, which gives you plenty of time to enjoy the incredible music. It stands head and shoulders above the likes of New York Minute, and I really enjoy it. Dolphin Shoals is by far the track that makes the most use of the underwater gameplay introduced in Mario Kart 8, and it's both a benefit and a detriment. On one hand, it gives the course a unique identity, and it uses the theme well. I like the part where you're just kind of floating through and riding off these updrafts, as well as the bit where you're riding on this big nasty eel. But on the other hand, underwater gameplay just isn't as fun, if you ask me, and having basically the whole track underwater is a bit of a pain. I'm glad there is a level that commits to this mechanic and takes it to the extreme, but I still think it's just worse than most of what this game has to offer. Mario Kart 8's first DLC pack, all the way back in 2014, introduced Link to the game, along with a Zelda-themed track, Hyrule Circuit. It's a pretty cool addition, but how does Hyrule Circuit stack up as a track? Well, it's not bad. It makes pretty good use of the theme, starting with a drive towards Hyrule Castle, which is majestic and impressive, then ends with the forest section with Deku Baba snapping at you. There's even kind of a puzzle element, where if you hit all these anti-grav boosters on your way into Hyrule Castle, it opens a shortcut. The coins are replaced by rupees, which is a really cool detail. But other than that, the track is a bit basic and visually bland, and I'm personally not a fan of this Zelda-themed remix. Even so, it's perfectly serviceable and also a fun inclusion. Sky Garden on its face seems like a basic remake of a retro track without much going for it, and I initially had it ranked much lower, but the incredible visuals and music combined with the decent track design does enough to justify a placement here. I just love the atmosphere of this place, and it makes pretty good use of what is admittedly a pretty simple theme. I like the skyships hovering in the distance, along with the towering beanstalks and little flower beds. The course is pretty basic, but I think the hairpin turns are fun, and there's enough variety to keep it from being boring. And this music is simply lovely. It actually might be my favorite song in the game. Sky Garden is just a course I have a soft spot for, and I think it holds its own. As far as I can tell, Merry Mountain is the only directly Christmas-themed course in the game, and it's executed perfectly. It's so cozy and cute, and the music is cheery and uplifting. It starts with an adorable little village with Christmas lights and cobblestone streets, followed by a climb up a snowy mountain and a sprint back down the slope. It's a lot of fun in spite of its simplicity, and again I just love the Christmas theme. It's nothing outstanding, but it's perfectly alright. This is another dirt track with an emphasis on jumps and drifts, and while I like it much better than Wario Stadium, it still doesn't blow me away. I think it nails the theme that it was going for, and it almost reminds me of Monster Jam, but otherwise I don't really enjoy the visuals that much, and nothing here really relates to Waluigi. It's certainly not alone in that. Older Mario Kart tracks just kind of use character names with their tracks without much theming to go with it, a la Luigi Circuit, the slew of Mario Circuits, and Peach Beach. My point here is that the theme is not exciting or unique or fun, especially considering that there is a Waluigi themed course that's much better. The track itself is pretty fun, with an emphasis on big jumps and drifty turns, and there are some pretty cool alternate paths you can take. It's certainly not a bad track, hence its placement here. This track is inspired by Donkey Kong Country Returns, which gives it a somewhat unique identity among the other DK courses. It's a very nice looking level, from the dense jungle foliage to the majestic gold temple, and it's pretty fun to drive too. It has a cool anti-grav bit and a nice long flight section at the end that leads into a split path with a quick but risky option, which is great for clutch last minute comebacks. The rest of the course is mostly unremarkable, but that's not a big deal. My biggest gripe with this track is that it features what I believe is the worst remix of DK Island Swing ever created, which is a sacrilegious desecration of David Wise's legendary work. There's a lot of fantastic music in this game, but this is a glaring exception, in my opinion. There are 5 different rainbow roads in this game, and in my opinion, 64 is the worst of them. Don't get me wrong, I love this course. The entire stage is anti-grav, and it makes full use of it, with a really wacky track layout that's disorienting in the best way possible. And don't even get me started on the visuals. This may be the most spectacular, glorious looking course in the whole game. The track itself is this glowing rainbow tile that really gives the impression of high speed as it zips by under your tires. There's a beautifully lit city far below the tracks, there's fireworks, there's a train, it's just splendid. And this music, man, what a beautiful remix of the old Rainbow Road theme. If I listen to this long enough, I'll start crying, I promise. The only reason I ranked it this low is because there's just not a whole lot going on in terms of gameplay. It's fun and feels like one of the speediest courses of the game, but most of the track is pretty flat and simple if you take away the anti-grav aspect. But like I said, I still love this track. It's a treat for the senses, and holds its own on that ground alone. Its placement here is more a testament to the strengths of other courses, rather than its own flaws. And with that, we've reached the 3-star section of this list. I would say all the courses in this segment are pretty good. They're certainly not the best in this game, but have little to no flaws and a lot to love. There's quite a few tracks here, so let's get started with... I might have a hard time justifying placing this one above some of the others we've covered, especially considering it has the spot directly above a rainbow road, but I just find Paris Promenade very charming. It definitely feels like Paris, and landmarks like the Arc de Triomphe and the Eiffel Tower are integrated directly into the course, which is pretty cool. It's simple without being boring, allowing the visuals and theme to really shine. Tour tracks really like to pull switch-ups from lap to lap, and I find a lot of them kind of frustrating, but Paris Promenade does this in moderation, which is much appreciated. The last lap simply has you drive through the course backwards, which is pretty cool. It isn't an absolutely mind-blowing track, but I think it's pretty good. Boo Manor is a fun and thematically rich course that makes great use of all Mario Kart 8's mechanics. Each segment is distinct and fun, and they use them in ways that contribute to the theme. The layout is nonsensical and disorienting in a way that's perfect for a haunted house. The only part I don't like is the underwater sewer section, but I do like how you come flying out the end of it. It's actually not my favorite Boo-themed level, but I do think it's a fun time. Yet another example of a good tour map, Sydney Sprint is just fun to play. It reminds me a bit of Tokyo Blur, just with much more engaging track design. The Sydney theme doesn't really shine outside of the Opera House, but the visuals are bright and energetic. There's plenty of opportunities for drifts, jumps, and flight, just a great mix of track elements all around. And the music is fantastic, easily one of my favorites. Again, there are plenty of better courses, even better tour courses, but Sydney Sprint is no slouch. Moonview Highway has one of my favorite progressions in the game, if that makes any sense. You start out in the hills under the night sky, cross a bridge into a bright cityscape, then take a tight tunnel back to the start. This gives it great variety while still having a cohesive theme, and it's got great visuals and a nice atmosphere to go with it. The only thing holding this course back is a really simple layout and limited track elements. Like when it comes down to it, Moonview Highway is a bit bare bones. The traffic provides little if any real challenge, and while the blastoffs inject some speed into the equation, it really isn't that engaging. But I still think it's pretty good, and I'm never mad about returning to it. Athens Dash is one of the more unique tour maps, and it really makes the most of its theme. The first 2 laps see you racing through the crumbling ruins of temples and amphitheaters, and it's both really cool and a lot of fun. I love how heroic and epic the music is, too. What you're driving on is constantly changing, from dirt paths to tilting pillars to crumbling stairs, and it makes it feel spontaneous and chaotic. There's a lot of jumps and tight turns, and although it is let down a bit by its 3rd lap, which is comparatively tame, I think overall it's a unique and enjoyable experience. Sherbet Land is one of, but not quite the best snow level in the game, but I like it a lot, and not just because it's a Double Dash stage. Double Dash is my favorite Mario Kart, by the way, just in case that wasn't clear. Sherbet Land combines a charming, Christmassy vibe with fun track design. There are a couple of points where you can choose to drive under or over the ice, and unlike many of the branching paths in other stages, each has its own merits. It might be a bit safer to drive over the ice, but there's more of an opportunity for speed and tricks underneath. I think this one's a lot of fun, even if it isn't a standout. I'm a little mad that this one doesn't have more Shy Guys in it. Like, the track named after Shy Guys isn't the best Shy Guy map. But that doesn't mean Shy Guy Falls is a bad course, and in fact it's quite good. I think the track design on a basic level is really nice, with lots of fun drifting and jumps, but also a lot of speed. It has one of my favorite anti-grav sections, where you speed up the waterfall, loop around, and fly back down. You can even see the track way down beneath you as you're going down. It's thematically and visually weak besides the waterfall set piece, but otherwise it's pretty good. This is another one that's carried entirely on the back of its theme and presentation. Animal Crossing doesn't offer too much in the way of engaging gameplay, but I'd still be ranking it here if it was literally a circle. I love Animal Crossing, and this course captures its identity and atmosphere so well. You start in the little town with all the animals cheering you on, then loop through the forest and around the beach. There are different versions for each of the seasons, and each one has its own distinct vibe. Yes, there are better tracks, and some of them may even be ranked lower than this one. I just give this one a pass, okay? Such is my power and my right. Cheep Cheep Beach is so pretty, one of the most dazzling courses we've covered. I love the little water houses on the pier at the beginning, I love the rock formations you drive under, and I love the jungle area towards the end. It's impressive for a beach level to be this varied and diverse, and it looks so nice. But I guess we should talk about the course itself. It's totally fine, just a short little romp with plenty of jumps and drifts, and you can cut under the water to take a bit of a shortcut. And speaking of water, it's so pretty. Did I mention how nice this level looks? My soul yearns for the sparkling waters of Cheep Cheep Beach. Every inch of this course is an absolute spectacle, and it's one of the most visually exciting maps in the game. From the penthouse pool high above everything to the cozy little marketplace, every section is a delight. And there's nothing wrong with the track design either, although that almost doesn't even matter when a track looks this nice. There's lots of flying, which is great to give you a bird's eye view of everything. It's just a really enjoyable course, and I think it proves that the tour tracks have a place in this game. Okay, my Double Dash bias is showing again. Baby Park is literally just a short oval track, but it's also much more than that. No other course in the game is this chaotic. This is the only track where 12th place can hit first place with the green shell. There just isn't enough room for 12 racers here, and it's awesome. The whole track is anti-grav, but it's still just flat, so it doesn't have much impact. I might have liked to see them do something more with that, but I also like this one just the way it is. It's a battle for survival across 7 laps, and I'm glad a track this wild is in the game. It's a classic for a reason. This one puts Dry Desert to shame. True to its name, Bone Dry Desert is a graveyard of massive beasts whose skeletons are integrated into the track itself. It's a great theme, if a bit morbid for Mario Kart, but it makes it stand out. The setting sun gives it a twilight atmosphere that fits perfectly, and it's also pretty fun. There's a branching path, though I literally only ever take this one because why wouldn't you? If you handle the flight section properly, you can land on a wooden path above the racetrack for a shortcut, but I am really bad at landing it. Also, there's a flying ship with toads throwing coins at you. That's a strangely cute thing to have on a course like this.
It's time!
Tick-Tock Clock has an excellent theme that is utilized really well. Driving over the spinning gears and ticking clock hands is both thematically fitting and a lot of fun. I like this bit where you can either fly over these gears or drive on them and try to utilize their rotation to your advantage. If you hit it at the right time, you can use the clock hands as a shortcut. There's a lot of jumps and tight turns and obstacles, and it can be pretty challenging and intense. It isn't the most flashy or interesting track in the game, but it does what it does really well. This is the newest Rainbow Road we've seen, until about 12 o'clock tonight, and it's far from my favorite. The theme is cool and sets it apart from other Rainbow Roads, with the space station and shuttles and stuff. It's a cool direction to take the idea. The track is fun and intense, and also pretty difficult. It has a split path at the end, and if you know what you're doing, you can jump from one to the other. There isn't much reason to, but it is fun. As cool as all this is, I just think the theme is a bit weaker and less dazzling than other Rainbow Roads, and it's also not as fun or engaging. It's absolutely a good track, but falls a bit shy of greatness. Certain tracks act almost as showcases for specific mechanics, and Rock Mountain fills that role for the flight feature. And it does a fantastic job. Coming out of the cave and flying off a bridge to glide over the mountain scenery is always great. There's a nice anti-grav section where you drive straight up the mountain with boulders coming down around you. The only thing I would say this course could do better is the visuals. It looks nice enough, but it's a little bland and generic, like nothing stands out. But that doesn't make it any less fun to play. Super Bell Subway is tight and cramped and honestly a bit claustrophobic, and it gives it such a unique feel and playstyle. It's frenetic and intense, with lots of opportunities for skilled players to get an edge over the competition. In other words, not me. If you're careful, you can ride above the rails and avoid all the deadly commotion below, but if you fail, you're stuck down in the churning mass of racers and subway cars. You can even ride on top of the cars themselves. It can be an incredibly rewarding track or a frightfully punishing one, and it's loads of fun. The music and aesthetics don't do much for me personally, but the theme is perfectly executed from a gameplay standpoint and gives it a distinct identity. Yoshi's Island is inspired by a beloved classic of the same name, and it really does the idea justice. Each area is an adorable bundle of references, and they're all distinct and give the course a lot of variety as you go from the amber, flowery fields to the underwater dungeon to the sparkling cave before finally ending up in the clouds. It's a lot of fun to race too, without being anything too standout. There is a unique shortcut at the end though, where if you hit this question mark cloud, a wooden path will appear to lead you to the finish line. It's hard to hit though, as evidenced by the fact that I have no footage of it. Overall, it's a fun track with a great theme and atmosphere. Riverside Park is undeniable proof that retro tracks can be just as cool as modern ones when translated properly. The visuals are stunning, with the beautiful sunset lighting filtering through the dense trees, goofy little piranha plants waddling around, and a cave at the end that leads to you jumping through a waterfall back out into the light. The track layout is simple but engaging, and flying through the waterfall to finish the race is a nice capstone. It's not a mind-blowing course, but it puts the likes of Snowland and Mario Circuit 3 to shame. I love Berlin Byways, and originally I had it ranked a bit higher, but after looking through it again, I had to admit that it isn't that much better than other city tracks. Sydney Sprint is probably more fun, Athens Dash has better theming, and Singapore Speedway definitely looks nicer. So why did I place Berlin Byway so high? This is such a jam, and I cannot stop listening to it. It's fun and energetic, but has these beautiful strings that give it some elegance, and it's one of the quirkiest pieces of music in the game. That's pretty much it. I don't think Berlin Byways is bad by any means, much better than the tour maps at the bottom of this list, but yeah, this placement is probably a bit ballooned. I just like it a lot. I promise this is the only track on this list that's placement is based almost entirely on the music. Also, there's a womp that stands in a wall and falls over, and that's such a hilarious reference to the Berlin Wall coming down that I had to mention it. Okay, now we're getting to the really good stuff. This section is for tracks I deem to be truly great, only outshined by the very elite. I'll struggle to find anything bad to say about these courses, but I might have a few notes here and there, and if I feel the need to justify a placement, I may have a criticism or two. But in general, these courses are fairly unimpeachable, and our next track is no exception. Sunshine Airport seems pretty unremarkable at first, but I actually like it quite a bit. A busy airport isn't the most exciting theme ever, but it's utilized well. You're driving under and through big planes and ramping over the baggage claim, and the track design is tight and compact. There's 2 big flight sections, which is quite fitting for an airport, and there are big jetliners flying overhead, which is a nice touch. Sunshine Airport may be simple, but it's well designed and fun. For being a course themed entirely around music and instruments, I actually don't like Music Park's song that much. But that's the only criticism I could possibly muster for this track, and even if I don't like the music, it's integrated directly into the course itself in a really cool way. Driving along, the piano and xylophone sections plays a little scale that matches the tune, there are all kinds of instruments that play along with the song, and there's these big music notes that bounce in time with the rhythm. And the track design is great, with lots of twisty turns, long drifts, and jumps. There's a drum at the end that you can bounce off of for a cool shortcut. It's a unique course with great execution. Finally, a decent Mario circuit, and in fact, a pretty damn good one. This track is fully committed to showing off the anti-gravity effect, and it does so in style. It takes the idea of a figure-8 track and flips it, literally, on its head. Some sections of this track are frankly mind-bending if you pay attention to it, like where you drive around Peach's castle upside down. The scenery surrounding the course is also leaning into the anti-gravity theme, with big chunks of land in the sky with water pouring off of them. It's honestly one of the better anti-grav courses in the game, and I still enjoy it a lot. Good to see Mario's angriest enemies finally getting some representation. Thwomp Ruins is a great example of how dynamic Mario Kart 8's tracks can be. There are several ways to navigate the overgrown ruins. It's probably quicker to take the inside drift on this turn leading into the ruins, but it's safer and honestly more fun to ride the wall. On the second lap, a flight pad opens up, allowing you to cruise through instead of going around or through the water. This whole section here feels kind of sandboxy and open, and I wish there was more like this in the game. I think Thwomp Ruins is a lot of fun anytime you play it, and it's one of those you'll never drive the same way twice. Cloudtop Cruise is one big spectacle in the sky, with set piece after set piece. You start on what I assume is a giant beanstalk, then drive into the clouds, jump down onto a skyship, then launch into the middle of a thunderstorm with lightning striking the track. It's very bombastic and eventful, which makes it quite exciting. I really like the theme and the music, and the little divider lines etched into the cloud portion of the track is funny. It probably isn't just the best designed track layout, but I'm too distracted by the wild elements and obstacles to care. Daisy Cruiser is one of my favorite courses in Double Dash, and that's true for Mario Kart 8 as well. A charming cruiser out on the open sea, with bright sunlight sparkling on the blue waves, it's just such a nice vibe. Nintendo should make a cruise line. I would pay out the nose and get over my crippling fear of the sea for a ride on Daisy Cruiser. But it has more than a great theme and stunning visuals. This is one of the more unique course layouts in the game. You start on the deck, with split paths to choose from to give it some variety, then you splash through a pool and ride the stairs down into a regal dining room. I like how the tables slide back and forth to give the illusion of the ship rocking back and forth on the waves, and if I have any criticism for this track, it's that it doesn't do more with that concept. But then there's another split in the course, allowing you to choose between riding through the halls or dipping into an aquarium before being launched out of a cannon back onto the deck. Between the relaxing atmosphere and the fun course design, Daisy Cruiser is an absolute classic. Wario's Gold Mine is just intense. It was the perfect match for the anti-grav mechanic, making it feel even more chaotic and wacky than the Wii version. I love the huge dip at the beginning of the track where you blast off straight down. It always gives me vertigo. There's a lot of risk and reward and wacky track elements, like the bats that assault you in the cave entrance, and the minecarts you can boost off of. The theme is done so perfectly, with pipes belching smoke, machinery everywhere, and adorable houses built into the canyon walls. It reminds me of a Ghibli film. I'm pretty sure Castle in the Sky is the one I'm thinking of. It's a fantastic track and a classic for a reason, and it translates perfectly into Mario Kart 8's style. Bowser's Castle has been a Mario Kart staple, and this game's version can stand proud amongst its forebears. This is a fantastic take on Koopa Keep, and it strikes an imposing figure. The ornate statues of Bowser and the red drapes are a great touch, and the pillars of flame, traps, and lava all make it feel deadly and hostile. I love the machinery and lasers and almost steampunk vibe it has going for it, and it makes Bowser seem like a diabolical genius. The lava golem of Bowser is an incredible set piece, and although it's pretty easy to avoid its punches, it does at least make you think about which path to choose. The course is a little let down by the ending, which is just kind of a short drive up a dirt road, but the rest of the track spectacle more than makes up for this. The tight, claustrophobic turns of the interior fit the theme and are engaging to drive, and flying between lava spouts is always exciting. It may not be the best Bowser Castle ever, or indeed even the best in this game, but it's no slouch. Ice, ice, outpost, too cold, too cold. Alright, stop. Stop that. Enough of that. It isn't funny and it's going to get us in copyright trouble. Ice Ice Outpost is a weird track and one of the most unique in terms of track design. Almost the whole thing is essentially two tracks side by side, twisting and looping over each other, and honestly it's a pretty cool gimmick. It splits the racers up and can provide some safety from items, and if you're really slick you can hop back and forth between the two tracks to optimize your route. I'm assuming. There are also some really cool shortcuts if you can land them properly. The theme is a little vague and bland, but the bulk of its creativity is in the course layout, so I can't complain too much. Alright, so inevitably I was going to forget to write something about one of these courses, and in this case, Grumble Volcano is the unfortunate victim. And it does not deserve it. It is an excellent track. I love the volcano theme. It's done so well. It feels so dangerous and hostile. Lava's everywhere. There's fireballs raining from the sky. The track is literally falling apart as you drive through. And it's also just really fun. Like, it has lots of good drifts, lots of jumps. Flying over the lava and through the flames is always cool. And the track kind of like changes up as you go. I probably could have come up with something a bit more engaging to say about this if I had actually like written something, but this video is already taking me too long to make. It's 10 o'clock in the morning and I didn't sleep last night, so anything I write now will be either gibberish or completely uninteresting. But hopefully I've gotten across how much I love this track through this unscripted and blathering section here. Grumble Volcano is a great course. I love it. Classic Wii map. So let's move on. Back to the regularly scheduled scripted content, excuse me. I'm tired. I know I said I don't like food-themed levels, and that's still true, but Sky High Sundae gets away with it just because of how fun it is. It has a very unique layout with tons of jumps and platforms, and it plays a lot differently than most other tracks in this game. I like the almost floaty feel this course has, and the series of tricks you can do to gain speed. And unlike Sweet Sweet Canyon, this place actually looks kinda tasty. I like the textures and bright colors of the ice cream as you drive over it, and having it take place high above the clouds mixes things up a bit. Koopa Cape feels like a spiritual successor to Koopa Troopa Beach from Mario Kart 64, and honestly, Koopa Cape kinda sleeps its predecessor. This track is so fun and packed with unique sections. I like the half-pipe jumps that are placed perfectly on tight turns, so you can use them to get some speed and line up for the next segment. The water rushing through the course is both a nice thematic element and a fun way to get some extra speed. The highlight of the course is when you dive down over a waterfall and end up underwater. This bit is actually not as good as it was in the original Wii version. In that one it was an enclosed tunnel with spinning hazards and water running through it, but since Mario Kart 8 has underwater gameplay, that's what they've done here. It just feels like any other underwater section in the game, which is a little disappointing, but Koopa Cape is still a great course and I'm glad it's here. It's sad that the best F-Zero we've gotten in decades is in Mario Kart, but Mute City does the idea so well that I can't be too worried about it. The speed has been cranked up to the max for this course, with blast-offs everywhere and pads that top you up on coins. The wild anti-gravity is both fun and fits the F-Zero theme perfectly. The futuristic city surroundings provide great visuals, and there's a ton of detail here, like the little planes flying around in the background. Mute City is a track focused completely around speed, but it isn't just a bunch of straight sections. There are twists and turns and jumps, ensuring that it isn't just a boring speedway. There is a course that does all of this just a little bit better, but if Mute City was the only F-Zero track in the game, it would be enough. I feel like I might be ranking this one a bit higher than most would, but I really love Boo Lake. It reminds me of Banshee Boardwalk, but with a more expanded premise and track design. The water being right up on the track feels oppressive and claustrophobic in a way that I think fits the course, but that's probably just a me thing. It doesn't take much to get me claustrophobic. I like the sharp turns around the corners, but where this course really gets fun is when you jump off and dive straight down into the murky water. You go deeper and deeper, with the anti-grav doing just enough to make it disorienting, then climb back over broken pieces of the track. It feels like the course fell into disrepair and half of it just sank into the water. The theme is a little basic, but I love the heavy remix of the Ghost House song from Super Mario World. It's a remarkably simple track, but it utilizes its elements well, and in a way that's perfect for the theme. DK Mountain is a rambunctious course, with tons of variety and fun segments. It starts with a short drive up to a cannon that sends you flying up the summit, and the rest of the track is a bumpy, twisting ride down the mountain. I love the series of tight hairpin turns as you go down, and there's an extremely satisfying shortcut that you can land with a perfect drift. The end of the track is a narrow, rickety bridge that can be pretty deadly if there's lots of opponents around, making it perfect for last-minute chokes and clutches. The theme is pretty standard jungle fare, but the visuals are nice, and the whole track feels like an off-road adventure. It's a fun and wild course, and I like it a lot. I have heard a lot of praise for Cheeseland over the years, and while I don't count it among the very best in the game, there's no denying that it's a fantastic course. The rolling, bumpy nature of the track is fun, there's plenty of opportunities for tight drifting, and the wide open section at the end is excellent, with several ways to tackle it. The theme is also really wacky and fun, and it takes what would be just another desert course and makes it unique and charming. I only noticed this just now, but there are giant slices of pizza in the background. That's good stuff. If you thought Mute City was fast, Big Blue takes it to the next level. This track is so over the top, with big twisty turns, split track design, and endless amounts of breakneck speeds. The blast-offs and running water really push this level to the limit, and it has some insane anti-grav sections, like the bit where you're upside down just above the water. If you're in the mood to just go fast, this is the course for you. Don't let the beautiful seaside scenery and bustling atmosphere of Toad Harbor distract you from just how fun it is to drive. The track design is excellent, from tight turns to open sprints. You can approach this course in several different ways, making it really satisfying to optimize your route, like driving over the market on top of stalls, or landing the tight drifts on this shortcut. It's also a ton of fun to bounce off the trolleys as you speed by. It's an excellent example of just how good Mario Kart 8's track design can be, and I think it's an instant classic. If I had to guess which of my placements would annoy the most people, it might be Rainbow Road Wii not quite making my top 20. But make no mistake, it's an incredible track. The music is nostalgic and uplifting, the visuals are dazzlingly beautiful, and the earth being far below gives it a nice and unique visual flair. It has some really wild and over-the-top track design, making it an incredibly exciting and chaotic race. The anti-grav is used perfectly, and there's so many opportunities for cool tricks. The reason I'm not ranking it higher is because there's another Rainbow Road that is pretty similar, and I think it's quite a bit better. But this one is a fantastic classic, and one I always enjoy. The final tier represents the top 20 tracks on my list, 5 out of 5 stars. These are absolutely fantastic. They are Mario Kart at its best and unimpeachable masterpieces, whether that be in terms of visuals, theme, or gameplay. I think I have a few unique picks in this section, but you can let me know in the comments. So let's get going with... I don't know who decided Rosalina and Ice go together, but I can't say they were wrong. Rosalina's Ice World is both very pretty and very fun, and it's my favorite ice/snow course in the game. I love this theme, nonsensical as it is. It incorporates elements from Mario Galaxy, like the planets in the starry sky, and Rosalina's observatory. There's a sparkly, snowy effect that makes the whole place feel magical. But this is a great course from a gameplay perspective too. Right out the gate there's this long drift around a jagged, icy cliff, and it's exciting and satisfying to pull off. There are a few paths that offer a different approach, adding a little dynamism to the track. The whole course is challenging but not punishing, and I think it's a delight. And not just because I think Rosalina is hot. This is a unique take on a circuit course, as the entire track is shaped like one big Yoshi. This isn't just a cute little detail, but it also makes a distinct gameplay experience. Translating Yoshi's silhouette into a track yields a combination of tight turns, wide drifts, and straight sections, and somehow it still feels cohesive. There's a really cool shortcut you can take at the beginning where you jump through a waterfall. It's a blast to do time travels on this one if you have someone to compete with. Optimizing the drifts is very satisfying. Visually it's nice but not outstanding, though I do like the ocean surroundings. It is among the best in the game, and a go-to for me and my siblings. I love mushrooms. It's one of my favorite foods and favorite aesthetics, so it's no surprise that Mushroom Gorge ranks highly for me. It's set high on some mountain with towering mushroom stalks, giving it a wacky but inviting atmosphere. But the real reason it's this high is the course itself. I love bouncing off the mushrooms, and I love that there's a section where it's mandatory, with all the racers bouncing up and down like idiots. The flight mushroom is a very unique track element that I like, even though it does take some of the challenge out of that bouncy section. The gameplay fits the wackiness of the theme, and it's a good time all around. Mount Wario is a breakneck sprint down a snowy, icy mountain, and it is as intense as it is fun. I like the first section best, skating down the ice and drifting around cliff edges. There's a nice shortcut you can take with an optimal drift or a mushroom, and you only get one shot at it per race, making it a risky but rewarding option. The second section starts off with you flying through a big open cave and ends with a forest full of trees to avoid. Finally, the third lap is an absolute mad dash down a ski slope. So as you can see, Mount Wario has a lot of variety, and each section has something unique to offer. I think it's fun the whole way through, and it pulls off the sectioned course style better than most. I know I keep ragging on Mario Circuit 3, but this is just the perfect point of comparison. Bowser Castle 3 is literally a Super Nintendo track, and it's one of the best in the game. This course is so fun, and the layout is extremely unique and interesting. It's just a very engaging track. There are lots of jumps, narrow pathways, and a ton of little choices that could have a pretty big impact on how your race goes. And it also proves that these retro courses can look fantastic. Bright hot lava is everywhere, Bowser's Castle looks like the gates of hell, there's a volcano in the background, it's just a hype course. I can't believe this and Mario Circuit 3 are in the same game, it just doesn't make any sense. Coconut Mall is a classic course for a reason, and I'm so glad to see it return. Honestly, not too much has changed, and it retains most if not all of its identity from Mario Kart Wii. I generally prefer indoor tracks less than outdoor ones, but this one is an exception. You're constantly flying up and down escalators, tricking off plants and fountains, and of course, every trip to the mall ends with a tricky and sometimes frustrating navigation of the crowded parking lot. It's fast-paced and packed with action, and of course the theme is incredible. This feels like a real place, with all the little shops on the side, and the food court is a particularly nice touch. Coconut Mall is just so vibrant and full of life, and it's a damn fun track to boot. All I can say about Piranha Plant Slide is that it's just so much fun. It's a nearly 100% downhill track, which gives it this sense of breakneck speed the whole way. It has some of the most fun track elements in the game, and its tight indoor nature makes it feel utterly chaotic. It really feels like a roller coaster, and ends with one of my favorite anti-grav sections this game has to offer, where you dive straight down into the water, then fly back up to the top of the track. It's non-stop action the whole way, and easily claims a spot in the top tier. Electrodrome may not have music integrated into the track itself as fully as Music Park, but it makes up for this by just being an excellent course in its own right. Just look at that mini-map, man. This whole track is turned up to 11. There's a flight section right off the bat, taking you down onto the dance floor, where things only get wilder. Twisty turns combined with mind-blowing anti-grav make this entire track a delight. And the theme is so much fun. There's dancing piranha plants, dancing Koopas, dancing Shy Guys. I mean, I could go on. I like the bit at the end that goes... Just an energetic and hype track all around. I don't know if it's controversial to have one of these so close to the top of the list, but I think Rome Avanti deserves it. It does everything right. The layout is fun and readable, the iconic landmarks have been turned into great set pieces, and the moonlit streets of Rome are beautiful. I really enjoyed my time with this one, and I think it's the only real-world course to execute the idea perfectly. Waluigi Pinball is an absolute blast. The idea of turning a pinball board into a racetrack is brilliant and fits Waluigi perfectly. It starts right away with a tunnel launching you into these wide, rolling turns that are so fun to drift around. Some of my favorite basic track design in the game. But the highlight of the track is of course the pinball board itself, which is a realm of pure chaos and danger. If you're not careful, you'll end up ricocheting off bumpers and flippers and getting flattened by the gigantic pinballs that are rolling all over the place. It's as deadly as it is fun. I think Waluigi offers a very unique Mario Kart experience, and though it doesn't quite make my top 10, there's a reason it comes so close. I've been playing Mario Kart 64 since I was 3 or 4 years old, and Royal Raceway has always been my favorite. Mario Kart 8 has truly done it justice. This is a beautiful level, and isn't even relying on a unique or dazzling theme to achieve that. It's really just another circuit level with roads and grass. Where this course really shines is in all the little details. At the start, the air is full of confetti from the cheering crowd, while later in the course there are leaves from the cherry blossom trees lining the tracks billowing about, giving it an almost dreamlike atmosphere. The track is lined with castle walls adorned with ribbons, the sky is full of hot air balloons, and of course, near the end of the track, Peach's castle stands proud against the light blue sky and pink fluffy clouds. It's been adapted faithfully and lovingly, and I really appreciate its inclusion. It's a great course in its own right too. The road is long and winding, and there's a huge jump in the middle that's pretty exciting. It's not quite as grand as it was in the 64, but that might just be the nostalgia talking. It's just lovely in every regard. I am devastated that you can't drive around Peach's castle like you could in the old one though. That is an unforgivable exclusion. Perhaps no other course in the game commits so fully and so perfectly to its theme. Squeaky Clean Sprint, say that 5 times fast, sees racers shrunken down to the size of a mouse as they race through a cluttered bathroom, and that is so much more fun than it sounds. Every inch of this track is packed with little details that help sell the theme, and honestly, for taking place entirely within a bathroom, it looks quite nice. Going down the bathtub drain is a highlight of the course, as well as boosting over the spewing toilet to reach the high ground. And though it's pretty long and speedy, it can also be quite action-packed, especially in the tight confines of the drain. It's fun and wacky and really stands out. No other course in the game comes even close to being as insane as Ninja Hideout, and it's one of the courses I struggle with the most. It's incredibly difficult to navigate the rooftops and secret passages and traps in this place, and it is so much fun. You have so many options on how to tackle this course, which fits the theme perfectly and provides so much variability, an overwhelming amount honestly. With optimal driving you can stay above all the other racers, but that is not as easy as it sounds. It's extremely satisfying when you manage to take the optimal path, and it makes Ninja Hideout a great challenge every time. The visuals are intricate and unique, and the music is hectic and intense, which matches this place perfectly. It's not a course I'm going to pick every time, but I always enjoy taking a crack at it. Earlier in the video I said this when talking about Dolphin Shoals. Underwater gameplay just isn't as fun, if you ask me, and having basically the whole track underwater is a bit of a pain. Man, that feels like ages ago. If you think this is a long video, just know the process of writing and editing it was exponentially longer. But now I have to eat some crow, because Piranha Plant Cove proves just how much fun Mario Kart 8 can be underwater. The sunken ruins provide such a fun environment to drift and jump through, and unlike Dolphin Shoals, there's a healthy mix of above-ground sections thrown in as well. And the theme is incredible. The crumbling ruins are half submerged in the dark waters of the ocean, the moonlight reflecting off the waves is beautiful, and there's ocean life everywhere. Genuinely one of the best looking tracks in the whole game. I had never played this one until I did this list, and now I'm sad because Mario Kart World is coming out and I likely won't return to it for a good while. But I'm glad I was able to experience it now, and it easily makes my top 10. I've ranked a lot of Mario Kart Wii tracks quite low considering what a beloved game that is, but I don't want to give the impression that I just don't like it or its courses. I have a ton of nostalgia for that game, and I wouldn't argue if you said it's the best Mario Kart. It has its fair share of excellent courses, and for an example of this, look no further than Maple Treeway. It's a combination of delightful ambience and visuals, with some of the most dynamic and engaging track design in the game. It begins on the forest floor beneath a thick canopy of autumn leaves, and the whole course is a lovely progression as you climb higher and higher into the trees, before flying back down to the forest floor. It does such a good job of making everything feel cohesive and connected. I love the big wide turns as you climb the branches, I like the cozy little log tunnel you jump out of, and the split paths at the end provide lots of options for how to approach the finish line. It's a course that does everything right, and it's tons of fun without being overwhelming. Okay, so I cheated a little bit while writing this script. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to watch a couple of other rankings. And without fail, almost every one of them placed Rainbow Road's NES, if not at the bottom of the list, then certainly as the worst of the Rainbow Roads. But I was prepared for this, as none of my siblings like it either. In defense of this track, I must simply ask,
What the hell is wrong with you?
this track is so tight and intense, with unique track elements and incredible strategies. Yes, it's flat, but it does so much to make up for that. The thwomps that hit the road aren't just obstacles, they send ripples through the track that you can trick off of, turning them into an opportunity for speed. The turns are long and wide and require precise racing lines, and with optimal play, you can pull off some incredible stunts. I love doing time trials on this and trying to maximize the speed from jumps and perfect drifts, while also trying to land this shortcut with just the right angle. If I abandon all pretense of objectivity, this track might take the number 1 or 2 slot. I just love it that much. But I've curtailed my passion just enough to recognize that there are just better courses that deserve the recognition. I won't tolerate any slander though, this is a damn good track and deserves a place in my top 5. Yet another example of a GBA track given an amazing new lease on life, Ribbon Road is one of the most technically demanding courses in the game if you ask me. It has some of the most fun shortcuts in the entire game that require incredible precision to pull off. Bouncing off the billowing road is a fun way to eke out some speed over your opponents, and there is some very fun drifting to do. The theme is a little simple, but the visuals are cute and unique. But this track is carried heavily by just how fun and intricate the track design is. Sorry if I sound a little bland talking about this, I spent all my passion on the previous entry. But don't hold that against Ribbon Road. It's a fantastic track that earns its place in the top 5 on substance alone. Passion's back, baby! Wild Woods is officially the cutest stage in the game. I love the theme of this place, racing along the branches of a huge tree in a dense, lush forest, populated by an adorable little Shagai village. If Mormons are right and you get a planet in the afterlife for every wife you have, well, I'm only getting one, but it's gonna look like this. That has to be the strangest analogy I've ever used. Shagai Village is just the nicest location in the whole game. I'll fight you on that. And if that was all it had, that would be enough. But it's also an incredibly well designed and fun track to race. Every piece of this track leads so perfectly into the next. It starts in anti-grav, with you driving straight up the side of a tree. Then you ride some branches into the endless delight of the Shagai Village. Heading out of the village leads down a twisting hollow log with water running through it, which you can use for some extra speed. Then you speed out into a pond and launch back onto the tree. I just think it's so fun, and it's elevated by the excellent theme and atmosphere. I've never played Mario Kart 7, so you can't accuse me of nostalgia glasses here. In my opinion, Rainbow Road 3DS is the best one ever made. What a glorious spectacle this course is. Every little piece of this track is mind-blowing and beautiful. It isn't the only Rainbow Road to use space as a theme, but it's the only one that commits to the idea and makes the most of it. It's a dazzling dash through the solar system itself. From racing by Neptune to drifting around the rings of Saturn to ramping over the moon, it's all simply fantastic. This is one of those courses that really feels like an event, that lives up to the name Rainbow Road. The track design is chaotic and over the top, with tons of speed and lots of jumps. I think it's cohesive and brilliantly tied together to create one of the most enjoyable tracks in the game. But in my opinion, the best track in Mario Kart 8 is Neo Bowser City. It's not as dazzling as Rainbow Road or as charming as Wild Woods, but it doesn't need to be. First of all, it has one of the most interesting themes in the game. It's like Bowser meets Cyberpunk, a dark futuristic city with neon lights and perpetual rain. The visuals are stunning and atmospheric, the music is incredible, and the vibe is totally unique. I'd love to see a dystopian Bowser City show up in a mainline Mario game. But as amazing as the theme is, what really puts this course at number 1 for me is the track design. There are so many fantastic turns, from long wide ones where you can hold a drift for what seems like ages, to the tight S-curves that you skate through in the middle of the track. It's compact and simple, but in ways that really allow the excellent gameplay of Mario Kart 8 to shine. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that a lot of people overlook this track, but for me, it's a shining example of how excellent Mario Kart can be. Okay, so that was exhausting. If you're still with me, you're a real one. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like for me, and consider subscribing. I'm working on a Star Fox Adventures video right now, and hopefully I'll have it out soon. Let me know how you feel about my rankings in the comments below. I always love hearing your opinions. In any case, thanks again for watching, and have a great day. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Take care.